Down her dirt road, on her ranch, Dora Lee Sewell was waiting to talk to me. Many people have seen her singing live on stage. Dora Lee started singing in high school and is still at it at age 85. Many other people know her from delivering the mail in this part of the country, driving 160 miles a day, 6 days a week. She's the second oldest of 13 children. Her mother gave birth to 7 boys and 6 girls. We talked on the back porch, looking over the vast expanse of the Texas hill country that she loves.
Well, we're on the old San Antonio highway or road. It used to be the old highway. And from my house to here is exactly 8 miles to Fredericksburg.
How about Lukenbach?
And Lukenbach, we are probably about 5 miles away from Lukenbach. No, no. Well, there was just an old dance hall, and so forth. I think I even went dancing there a couple of times, but it really changed after, Hondo Crouch took over. Well, there's a lot of hippie stuff was going on, and Willie Nelson was there, so, what kind of crowd he drew sometimes. It's pretty wild, and all of that. So I never went down there to mount to anything that time. I did go one time in a jam, and that didn't impress me. I didn't go back.
Huh. Were you in the jam, or just
No, I was in the jam, yeah.
You were? Oh, that's
But anyway, they commented. Well, most of them tried to do some stuff they wrote, and I was the one that just did the regular good old country songs. And so I know one lady said, she said, the only songs that I know is the one that she sings. They don't, the other songs they weren't familiar with because they'd never heard them before. So. But anyway, I wasn't really impressed, the crowd that was there at the time. It just wasn't my type. I don't know, probably around 11, 12 or so. Mom and Daddy, they ordered me a guitar, and I know it came from Sears and Roebuck. And we had a school teacher at the time that could play a little bit. She didn't know a lot of notes on the guitar, but she knew some, so I just kind of learned a few basic ones, and that's, how I got interested in it. And I like to sing, so that's, why I never learned to play the melody on a guitar, because I'd rather sing.
Don't come home and drinking with loving on your mind.
Oh gosh, I've sang quite a few places, even at Twitty City.
Well, what's that?
That was up there around Nashville.
Whoa.
They had a band playing in there one afternoon when I was on a trip up there, and there was a few people were there and they're listening, not many. So anyway, got the nerve to ask him if I could sing, and oh boy, they came out of the gift house and took my picture, and I even have a picture of the band that they all signed, So that's one of the places where I, sang. And Lukenbach, played there when I had the band. I played there 5 times one year.
Yeah, what? 5?
And 5 times at Lukenbach, yeah, and I sang at jams there. That's how we got hired to play at Lukenbach. The lady that was doing the booking, Abby, she, I guess, heard me sing or whatever. She inquired who I was and so forth, and so she called me about whether we wanted to play out there, and we did. We played there 5 times, and then after that we played, a few more times and so forth. Played at Albert.
That's the Albert Hall?
Yeah, and well, at that time, when I had the band, we played like at the VFW Hall. That was an automatic twice a month. We played at Partners, and then, like I say, Lukenbach and Albert, and I don't know, it was probably basically most of the places where we sang, you know, but then too, I did, well, when I started dating my second husband, Rip Sewell, I met him at London at a dance. And he had never heard me sing, but he heard me talk about my singing or whatever. So anyway, he got the band up there to call me up there, so I sang a couple of songs. And they had just started the opera shows in Mason and Llano.
Wow.
So the guy that helped start the opera show in Mason came up to me and he said, "You're going to be on the opera show next month." And I thought, oh my gosh, I haven't done this in years. And so I was on the opera show every month for 3 years. The opera show was actually big country singers. There were, Kitty Wells was on there twice.
Wow.
Let's see, there was Johnny Bush, Johnny Duncan, Fiddlin' Frenchy Burke, well, you just name them, just a whole bunch of the, you know, Curtis Potter, well, let's see, they even had old Johnny Rodriguez on there one time. Now they have, some of them have moved there, or Norma Jean is up there, and Leona Williams was on the show too, and her husband, Daryl McCall and Mona, I got to know them real well, and Justin Trevino was one of the main ones too, and then Sammy Geiswat.
Okay. That's all right.
But anyways, I met just a whole lot of the bigger stars and all of that, and I enjoyed that. Well, I guess because I like to sing and play, you know, the guitar, I just kind of just played at the house a lot. And then when I went to high school, you know, I stayed with my aunt, and she worked at a restaurant, and so I was by myself, so I'd sit there for hours and sing and play. You know, that's how I really, you know, got into it, or a lot of practice, let's put it like that, when I should have been studying some of my been in my high school books a little bit more. Oh, I don't know. I guess I have lots of memories because there were, I was the second oldest of 13, so you know there were lots of little ones around, and then being the second oldest, and then after that there were a bunch of girls, so I just worked in the fields a lot with Stanley, my older brother, and Daddy, you know, so just doing whatever, tying bales of hay when they were baling, you know, with the wire that you had to twist around it, or cutting corn tops, or cutting maize tops, or hauling hay, whatever. And with corn, you know, breaking corn off like they used to gather it by hand, throwing it on a wagon. I did all of that stuff, you know. So.
Wow. And
I changed many a diaper. Many a diaper, but I did call Mom to change one certain diaper all the time. That one I really wasn't too crazy about changing. No, we had an outhouse when I was, well, in fact, you wouldn't believe we had no electricity when I started school in that. No, you know. No, we had an outhouse where we had.
so no air conditioning.
No air. Well, we didn't really need air conditioning. It never got all that hot. I mean, like in the summertime, where we lived, in the mornings you would pull up cover. And in the summertime too, it was always usually breezy, and it was not bad. But I think probably it is a little bit maybe a little more, or maybe I notice it more. But I know we've had some hot days, and we had some cold ones too, not long ago. When did I learn to yodel? Well, the teacher I had, she kind of yodeled a little bit like just, like just singing it or just to yodel. But anyway, the real yodel, which you have to do from down in your throat, is what they tell me. I don't know. That's the way I do it, I guess. So I got that probably. Being at home, we lived between two hills, and I'd try to yodel out there, and depending what the weather was like, it would echo back to me, and I guess that fascinated me. So that's how and then my grandfather, Emil Krinwelge, and them, they had one of these old Victrolas, and they had a lot of Jimmy Rogers records. So there were times when I was at their house, I would play those records, and that's, I guess, how I learned to yodel,
I wanna be a cowboy sweetheart. That's a life I love the best. Holly yodelady, hey, holly yodelady, holly yodelady, hey, yodelady, holly yodelady, hey, holly yodelady.
Yodelady, yodelady, oh, yodelady, yodelady.
That's it.
Or a little different too. I do little different at times, Yeah, I guess my grandfather, great-grandfather, Philip Krinwelge, was, I guess, the first one. He and his brother Christian came over.
And where did they land, do you know?
Well, they landed in New Orleans, Louisiana, from what I've heard, and that they have actually got on the wrong ship, so that's where they landed.
Where were they headed? Where did they think they were going?
I don't know where they really wanted to go, but I didn't think it was really there. But anyway, and then they went on into Texas and kind of more or less, I think, settled around Lukenbach and Blanco a little bit, and then they finally, kind of Fredericksburg, and they kind of wound up at Cherry Springs then, where my great-grandfather lived. Well, Mom was a good cook, let me tell you, and she saw that we all got enough to eat. Of course, we were sometimes, limited when she'd fix a pie or pies or whatever. We had to make sure everybody got a piece of pie.
13 pieces of pie, they're pretty narrow.
Yeah, and I tell you what, well, we didn't cut up too much at the table, but we liked to cut up a little more when Daddy had purchased some land below Fredericksburg, and when he was gone, we liked to cut up a little bit more. Mama'd sometimes get aggravated at us. We lived 4.5 miles from Squaw Creek. That's where I went to school. Well, we were the farthest from my cousins in that. So then next came Shirley and Victor, my cousins. Down they rode horseback, and then there was Imogene and Evelyn and Kermit. They were the next ones down. They were about 1 mile from us, and then, like I say, we went off and just rode horseback to school and tied the horses on a tree or whatever, and then coming on back. And it's a wonder we didn't kill ourselves. But anyways, we had some fun. Here and there we'd race or whatever. And I always forget, and I cannot forget, Imogene was riding this little Shetland pony. Well, there when we were about halfway home, there was it was Daddy's uncle, Charles, lived there. And anyway, there was water in the creek, so the horses we'd stop and they'd drink water. Well, that little old Shetland in the summertime, or when it got warm, it loved to lay down in that water. she was still on the horse. She'd jump off so fast and she splashed that water with her feet. She never got her feet wet. It was only probably about 8 or 10 or 12 feet, inches deep, you know. So, but anyways, I'll never forget that. That was always funny. Oh yeah, we drove, well, since we were that many, we were 3 on a horse every once in a while.
So somebody did you have a saddle on the horse? Or did you
Oh yeah, no, we always had a
Well,
saddle.
then not for 3. So
Well, they just hung on behind the saddle. Hung on to each other, I guess.
Wow.
I think that it was more than likely the drive-in in Fredericksburg, I think. Anyways, I know that my cousin and Imogene and Delbert was one of his best buddy, and they were trying to get us to go, you know, trying to get us together to date or whatever. But anyhow, so we already had a couple of dates before they ever found out about it, you know. But I think we did go to dances too. But I think that the first time that I went with them, I think we went to the drive-in movie. I think.
So for future generations, tell us, what is a drive-in?
What is a drive-in? Well, it's an outside of just a big old screen that they show the movie on, and you just stayed in your car and watched. Had a speaker at every car, and you just watched it in the car. In the car in front of the house at my aunt's, or what used to be my grandfather's house. Of course, he was deceased on Austin Street.
In Fredericksburg?
Right.
In town?
Yeah.
And did he pop up with a ring?
Well, he had it. He brought it, but I didn't even know he had bought it. But anyway.
So were you shocked, or were you not surprised?
Well, no, I was kind of shocked, I guess, or kind of, because I didn't know he'd gone and bought a ring already or anything, you know.
How long had you been dating at that point?
Probably,
Time?
probably in a year and a half or something like that. Yeah, well, his actual real name was Leon Truman, but everybody called him Rip. He got that I guess in high school and college. He played all sports, and he was a fast runner. So he kind of got it, I guess, from that. But there was a relative of his that did play ball. I don't know if it's the New York Deals or whatever, and his name was Rip, though, too. So I don't know if the kids found out or knew of that one and called him also Rip, because his name was Rip Sewell. Well, one place that I've always enjoyed going to, and that's Branson, because of the music shows, you know, and all of that. And it's a nice area.
There's nothing like live music, is there?
It's all live music. It's not like it used to be when I first went. They had, well, a lot of these from Nashville did move to Branson, Missouri. And now, you know, they're not there so much anymore, but they've still got a few of them. But some of them are, you know, some that are kind of famous, but not like the older ones, like Mel Tillis used to be there, Charlie Pride. Well, let's see, there were just a bunch of them that had shows. Boxcar Willie, he had a good show. Well, for one thing, be honest and do your best, I guess. Well, there's always a give and take. And you can always kiss and make up, I guess, if it gets too bad or whatever. But now, you know, if you want your marriage to last, you know, you got to work at it, I guess, to a certain extent, if the other party is interested in working on it. Let's put it like that. Well, Opa, I knew him, I guess, Opa Crenwelly. Oma Crenwelly died, I think, when I was 9. But then Opa lived him to be 87. And he was a little on the witty side, and he could play harmonica. I remember I heard him play harmonica one time. And he was a hard-working man.
Well, how about Oma?
And Oma, you know, I don't remember so much about her, but I do remember her cooking and this and that and the other, and they ate some garlic, and I never liked garlic, you know, a lot of, but I know she ate a lot of garlic, or they did. Years ago, they used to say that, like my brothers and sisters, they'd like to see me mad just one time, but I think they've seen me mad maybe a few more times than just one time. I used to be pretty easygoing, you know, but through the years, I guess, being a widow for 20 years, I'd had a few, you know, they like to take a little bit of an advantage of women, and they didn't get away with it. And I've gotten a little more feisty in my older days, you know. I don't let it pull the wool over my eyes, which they didn't then either. They didn't get away with it. I could probably tell you about the incident, but
Go right ahead.
well, 2 times it was buying a vehicle.
Yeah.
They were hail damaged. Oh, but they didn't tell me before that. Not until the deal was made or they even had the check in their hand. And that ticked me more than anything. So the first one they got back, they were a dealer in Fredericksburg, and I was a widow lady, and I called my older brother. He went with me, Stanley, chewed their butt, you know. And I said, I don't want it, and I want my car back that I traded in. So that's what we did. Well, they were going to try to get me one. Well, I found out in the meantime that other people had looked at vehicles, and they didn't tell them either. So I went back there, and I guess we both kind of chewed there a little more on them, and told them, you're not going to last in Fredericksburg to pulling what you're doing. And they didn't. And I said, I wouldn't take a car from you now if you gave me one. That's how that one ended. The next one was in San Antonio when my youngest daughter wanted to buy a count. Oh, when we got through with that. Oh, on here on this computer it shows an asterisk, and we're going to have to tell you about it. Yeah, it was also hail damage. And we had actually, the car that we had driven when we were down there, we didn't buy it that day, but we called them the next day or so and said we wanted it. Well, when we got there, we both looked at the car and said, that's not the one we drove. And you know, or if you knew my youngest daughter, she is very particular. And she says, I don't want it, I don't want it. So that's how that ended up. I had him give me my check back.
Good for you.
Yeah.
A lot of people wouldn't have the courage to do it.
Well, and I tell you another thing I did, which was probably kind of should that not have, but they didn't know me, and I didn't know any of the others. They had several guys out there, people looking at, you know, salesmen looking at vehicles, and I walked out, and here they were trying to pan a hail-damaged car on us, and heads went up. They probably didn't appreciate that, but I mean, it just ticked me off. I kind of worry about what's going to all happen to the grandkids yet, or great-grandkids, you know. The world's not what it used to be, you know, with all the taxes, and I mean, I don't know, people just don't want to work anymore. They want handouts and go out and steal and do things they're not supposed to do, and all of this kind of stuff, you know. You never know what you run into, and it's some of these nuts, you know. I mean, you know, there's a big change from when I grew up and now. You didn't hardly hear of a shooting or killing. And if so, they were maybe livestock rustlers. They hung them, you know.
Just like that.
Yeah, or even now, yeah, if you steal livestock, the sentence is higher than when you shoot somebody.
That's a fact.
That's a fact, yes, exactly.
And back in the day, everybody had a gun. That was part of life, right?
Right, and we were taught what to use a gun for. You know, it was used to protect your livestock when you had coyotes or whatever, mountain lions in those days, and so forth, you know, or if you even like hunting, you know, you shot the deer for meat. Well, it was probably still in the 1800s and all of that, and probably before that, because I know when Fredericksburg was kind of settled, or the first ones came over here, I think most of them kind of in 1846 or in that area. And the Indians were here, yes. Well, it just was a big event. They just kind of tried to go ahead and make it seem real to what it actually was. Like with the fires were on the hills, now they don't do that anymore. And anyways, with I guess how it all really started and why they started the Easter fires was because the children, is what I've always told, when they saw the fires on the hill or something, they were scared. And they told him it was the Easter Bunny, and he was, you know, dying eggs and this and that, yeah, and that kind of calmed them down when it was actually maybe the Indians up there. And they must have gotten along some, you know, because I know that my grandmother, and that was Crenwelge, somehow with the Indians, I think she had some crocheted articles or that ever she gave the Indians, and there was an Indian woman that gave her, it was a made of beads into a kind of a little deal where you could set a flower pot in, to hang a flower pot in, and that was given to her, and which I imagine they got from we were thinking maybe from the French. They used to have lots of beads when they came over here. So where she got it, I don't know. But then when, you know, my aunt and all of the grandparents were gone, you know, there was this little, and when Mama passed away, the last one there, Daddy passed away before, there was this little basket with the beads. Well, it was kind of somewhat torn a little bit, so my youngest sister said, let me take it and see if I can do something with it. So her mother-in-law fixed jewelry. So she had, the mother-in-law took the basket of beads and they added just a few of them or whatever, but anyway, made all 6 girls of us a bracelet out of those beads. So we have that from the Indians, you can say.
Everybody had the mumps.
Everybody had the mumps. I had to get out there and I had to go ahead and feed everything, and the sheep were having babies, so I had to attend to all of that and feed and milk the cow in the mornings before I went to school and all of that. And that was hectic, feeding all the livestock and doing all that before I went to school. And then same thing when I got home from school. I had to go out and feed and take care of all the livestock while Daddy had the mumps.
It was all on you.
It was all on me. And Mom had just had Candace as a baby, and she was not able to help outside. You know, years ago, they didn't let the women do anything right after they had a baby.
Yeah, you're supposed to stay at bed rest.
Yeah, right. You weren't supposed to lift or this and that. So it was up to me. I'll never forget that. Never forget it. begin with
The oldest?
the oldest ones.
Yeah.
Okay, this is the Crinwell geese, and this is Ray. That's the great-grandparents.
I like that beard, I have to tell you. But this gentleman has a heck of a beard, too.
Yeah, I think the men all had beards years ago. Okay, this was Philip. He grew up or lived, I guess, the biggest part of his life at Cherry Springs, close to where the dance hall is, right in that area. Mm-hmm. And then this one here, they lived more, probably from where I grew up towards Pollitt Knopp, I guess, and 290 Highway, between probably Fredericksburg and Harper up that way.
Okay, and who's at the top here?
Well, this is Mom and Dad, but this is a bigger picture, and this is a smaller one. Oops, of when they got married. That's my mom and my dad. No, this one here, I think, was probably taken at my mom's house where she grew up, at my grandparents'.
Yeah.
Because they had the wedding reception at the house, which was right outside of Fredericksburg. Oh, that Western shop is there too now. That used to be Grandfather Weinheimer's place right there.
So would that be Hee Haw Ranch?
Hee Haw Ranch, right? Right, that's it.
Okay.
This is Hugo and myself when we married. That's our wedding picture.
My
Hugo.
goodness, look at you.
Hugo Wyrick.
You're gorgeous.
And that was Hugo Wyrick Jr.
Well, that was, look at that dress you got on. My goodness, that's beautiful. You look like you're a true Southern belle.
Well, it was a pretty dress. A lady sewed the dress.
That's a work of art.
Right, yeah. She was very good at it too.
Do people still keep dresses these days? The wedding
To
dresses?
keep them, I still have mine.
You do? You have this dress?
I still have it, yes. Yes, I still have it. And then the sister next to me and the next below me, they wore the same dress.
It's okay. Oh, it looks nice. I'll get a close up of that. All right. Who's next?
And this is Rip Sewell and myself. I was a widow right at 20 years. And then I remarried. I guess he swept me off my feet.
Well, you're both smiling, so that's good. You sure look happy. Let's go through some.
We had a lot of good times together. Well, Hugo and I did too. It just didn't, last all that long. 13 years. No, 17. Excuse me. 17, not 13. 17 years. And I never made it longer with my second husband either. It was right at 17 years, so.
I'd say that's a fantastic run.
I had two good husbands. Really did. They were.
So let's talk about some of these other pictures.
Well. Now
You just point and I'll follow.
Well, this is my dad on a horse, and I've been trying to figure out who that is. I'm not sure. It could be either Cody or it might be, I'm thinking about maybe Willard. I don't know. It's either Cody or Willard. I may even be wrong, and then this is, Dad too with his horse. He loved his horse.
Well, a horse was life's partner. I mean, they were.
Well, he was a good roper, and he used to rope a little bit in rodeos at Clenners Park years ago before he married, and a little bit after he was married. But then he kind of quit it. He figured he might get hurt, and when when the family started, then he didn't do that anymore. But he used to break horses. I remember that because people brought him, I remember a man bringing a horse to the house one time, and he made it right gentle.
That's an art to to be able to do that.
Yeah, see, or even like I know a couple of times, you know, neighbors or something, they were trying to round up goats or whatever, and couldn't get them to the house or whatever. They were kind of wild or what have you, and they called Daddy and asked him if he could get them out. And he had, of course, he had a dog, King, who was a good stock dog. So Daddy and King, he got them for him so they could pen them or sell them, whatever.
Who's next to them there?
Okay, this is my mom and dad here.
Okay, I can get
Yeah, that's Eugene and Ida. And she was Ida Weinheimer.
And your dad, where was he located, or where were they both located?
Well, we lived about 17 miles northwest of Fredericksburg, out the Pecan Creek Road. And when you got to the end of Pecan Creek Road, if you drive straight ahead, that you'd run right into the house or the yard or where they lived.
All right. Who's on this animal down here?
Well, I figured they'd get a laugh from that. That's me on there. When we were in Branson, they had one of these riding bulls, and I got on it and sat on it like I was really riding.
Hey,
So a lady that was there, and I don't even remember, she was from some other state, she took the picture and she asked me for my address, and she said, "I'll mail you a picture." That's where I got it from.
Oh, that's great. And this gentleman.
Well, that's Hugo, my husband, first husband. He was in the service. And he was hoping he'd get to travel a little bit, but he stayed at El Paso the whole time. He was taught the guys how to clean the guns, take them apart, and all this type of stuff.
He must have been a smart fellow. He was.
He was,
people.
yeah, he was teaching or was an instructor of how to do all that, I think.
Well, that's a terrific picture. Who's in the middle? Can you see that?
This one here. Now, this is Opanoma Weinheimer. That's who I thought it was, but I had to look at it a little close.
Okay.
Opanoma Weinheimer. That was Mama's parents when they got married.
I'm really curious about that guy's boutonniere. It's got a white tie, and look, its hair's divided right down the middle.
Yeah. And I think he always had a mustache, if I remember right. This is my first husband, Hugo Wyrick. His family, during the war, they moved to California and worked in an aircraft company. And so he was, I think, about 16 or something there. And this little old pony belonged to somebody in the neighborhood. And he was saying that there was I guess a base where soldiers were close by, so they'd sometimes, walk by there, and just for the heck of it, they'd want to ride this pony, which even wasn't even his pony, but anyway, they would go ahead and charge him 10 cents or a quarter to ride the horse. That way they maybe could go to a movie or do something.
Oh, that's funny. That picture looks like it's a hand-painted photograph.
I think it was a little tinted, yes. Yeah. I think it was, yeah.
Before there was color photography, that's what people did.
Yeah.
And it looks nice.
But then after the war, they moved back here to Fredericksburg again. So.
Okay. How about down here?
Well, this is a family picture that was taken when my sister got married, and that was, I guess, the best family picture that we had when Hugo passed away.
So let's point out who's who in the picture. Do you know?
Well, this is, of course, Hugo, and this is myself.
Look at that beehive hairdo you
Oh,
had.
man, wasn't it, huh? It was a little something different. But I had long hair at the time, And then this is Dwayne. This is Candace, who was in the wedding. And this is Shelley, and this is Denise.
Well, they're all cute. Cute, cute, cute.
Yes, they're all but still nice looking, and they're good kids.
How about this one in the middle?
Well, this one here was two of my uncles, Weinheimer, Mama's brothers, that never got married. And then the two little boys were twins that my sister had, Mary Jane and Stanley Henrich. They had twins. And this was taken at the home place where Mom grew up, at the Weinheimer place.
Is that it in the background there?
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
Oh.
But it was in the yard there where they took it. I think the house is actually a little farther over or whatever.
Okay. Well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
And who's this lovely person?
Well, that was my graduation picture.
Look at you.
That was
And you were graduating from?
St. Mary's in 1955.
And did you have a major, or what was?
No, I loved math. I really loved math. That was my favorite subject.
You could be a billionaire today. Those kids who love math today are making tons of money.
I loved math. I loved algebra. I think I was the only one, if I remember right, on the midterm and final that made 100 on the algebra test.
Wow.
But anyways, I did love math. That's really kind of what I wanted to do, was maybe go to college and become a math teacher, but I never got there.
Really?
That's right, yeah.
Well, I've known some math teachers, and
Yeah.
that's it takes a lot of persuading for some people to get them
Well.
to get that math into their head. So, but you enjoyed math too.
Oh, I did, yes. I would sit up, like algebra, if I couldn't get it, I'd sit up till midnight till I got it. I did.
No wonder you
I'd
got
get to
100.
class and I'd have the only one that had it. So I remember there was something about when a car starts here going at a certain speed and a car the other end going a certain speed, at what point are they going to meet? I sat there until I had it figured. I was the only one in the class that day that had it.
Good for you.
Anyway.
Oh, what do we have down here?
Well, this is a family picture. This is Mom and Dad, and this is all the brothers and sisters. That's the whole
Wow.
13, the whole gang.
Look at that. Now, let's take a look at the lady who did all the work there in the middle. Man, she produced all those children, raised them. He had a role to play too.
Oh yeah.
My goodness.
Mom was a good mom. She was a great person. Of course, so was Daddy. They were both. They were both great people. Well, let's start with the girls here. This is me, Dora Lee. This is Eugenia Ann. And then, of course, Dad, Mom, Darlin, Lizzie, and Mary Jane. And this is Irene, Stanley, Sydney, Larry, Archie, Cecil, Jean, and Adley.
Wow. Now, if you had to get them all Christmas presents, you had a lot of stuff to buy.
Well, you know, when I started working after I was in high school or whatever, or maybe, I guess it was after I graduated, but anyways, you know, we were always limited about how much we could eat and this and that and the other. But, and they had these, they had like oranges in real, what was maybe 5-pound bags that you could buy. Mm-hmm. And I think I paid like, I don't know if it was 19 cents or 29 cents for a bag of oranges. And I got each of them a bag of oranges. And Adley, being the youngest ones, I'll never forget, he said, "Are these all for me?" For once, he didn't only get to eat one. He could have the whole bag, a sack full of oranges.
Well, that was a great gift.
To him it was.
He appreciated it.
He had all these, he could eat them by himself.
Well, now, who's next to the 13 here?
Well, this is is Hugo's mother, but I couldn't find another one a while ago. But this was while they were in California. That was my first husband's mom.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Let's take a look.
She was a clanner. And, well, the clanners in Fredericksburg, there were sheriff and all of those were his uncles, or Alfred Clanner was her dad, who was sheriff for a while, and then her brother Hugo. And then there was another before that, generation before that, there were sheriffs in Fredericksburg. So,
And who's below them here?
this one here is Oma and Opa Crenwelge, and I didn't find a big picture of them besides the, you know.
That's a good picture, though. I can make it.
Yeah, it is a good picture. And this was probably taken not too long before they moved to town and before she passed away.
Got some lovely girls in singing attire here.
Yes, these were what we called the Crenwelge sisters.
Okay.
But 3 of us were sisters and the other 2 were first cousins.
Okay, can you point out who's who?
Well, this is myself, Dora Lee. And this is Darlin, my sister. Shirley, my cousin. Jeannie, or Eugenia Ann, my sister. And Imogene, my first cousin.
Wow. That's a lineup. And
We did quite a bit of singing. We played, well, maybe like if they had like a Queen's contest at the Farm Bureau, or I think one time we were at the Hereford Association where we did some singing or entertained a little bit while they had probably their annual meetings. And then for even like the San Antonio and Austin exorcists that were from Fredericksburg,
okay.
when they had their reunion in the summertime, we'd sing there. Then we were at the livestock show, and I think that was probably in '53 when we sang at the livestock show in San Antonio.
What? You did? Well, that's a big time.
We were even on television
No
at that
kidding.
time. Yeah. And then at noon, Adolf Hoffner had a radio show at the stock show also, and we sang a couple of songs on his show, radio show at noon.
Wow, and you just kept on singing from here all the way over to here.
Yes, this is one of them. That's a poster from when Pat's Hall came back, and we played. And it was, poster that was put out,
Who picked that name? Kick-a-boot.
I did.
You did.
Well, my husband being from, second husband from Ozona, his doctors were in San Angelo.
Okay.
So we were driving to San Angelo one day, and there was this Kickapoo Creek. And I thought, Kickapoo, and I just threw it around in my mind, and I was said Kick-a-Boot Band. And I asked him, I said, because we were getting started playing as a band, and we didn't know what to call it, and I told Rip, I said, what if we'd call it Kick-a-Boot Band? Sounds good to me, he said. So that's it. That's how we came up with the name.
Speaking of Rip, tell me about this sign over here on the wall.
Oh, that's a sign that somebody made. That's the address of the property here that I own that I inherited. Okay, this is Claire, and this is Hutton, and they're the Wayne's children, so they're Wyricks.
They've got great smiles.
Yeah, they're 2 good-looking girls. Then this is Alec, and that is Tim and Denise. It's their son, and this was taken right here in the cabin
And
of the 4 kids.
okay, can we identify them again with your finger?
Well, that's Dwayne, Denise, Candace, and Shelley.
And who's down below here?
Well, it's the same picture, but it has me in the middle. That was taken at another time. So that is Denise, Dwayne, myself, Dora Lee, and this is Candace and Shelley. Well, I got the contract in 1978 when Hugo passed away.
So what usually happened when
And
somebody
then
passed
I
away?
had, the kids were still small, and I figured that would not work. If they'd get sick at school, I couldn't,
Right.
you know, pick them up and this and that. So I had two people, two sub people that ran the route for me, and then I tried to do it like on Saturdays at times to where I could stay up with the route.
Okay.
And then in 91 or whatever, when I lost my job, I started driving full time.
Oh, and how long did you do that?
And I did it from, I guess, 91 or 92. Anyways, I did it until 1918.
Well, how old were you?
And I was 82 when I retired in August of 2018.